Friday in the church, we celebrated the great solemnity of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. This devotion to the Sacred Heart first developed in the 11th and 12th centuries, but really, I guess, got ramped up in the 1670s when Jesus made these private revelations to a French nun that we know as St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. He wanted his heart to be like the biggest image of his boundless love and mercy, and his desire to have everyone come back to his heart, to come back to his love. Pope Francis, the last big writing that he did, is called Dilexit Nos, was all about the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And then just a few days ago on Thursday, as all the bishops of our country gathered together for a meeting, to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our country, consecrated our whole country to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. The Sacred Heart image, there's a lot of important features to it, I think. So there's a lot of it that has to do with the love that God has for us poured out in his passion and death on the cross. So we see the cross there, and the heart, and the heart's wounded, like when Jesus' heart was pierced by the lance on the cross, through which, of course, blood and water gushed out, the sacramental life of the church. There's the crown of thorns, and there's always a flame as part of the Sacred Heart image, that Jesus' heart is wounded, but it's also on fire with love for us, a fire of love that purifies, that transforms. Of course, too, we see this light bursting forth from his heart as well. Now, sometimes when you see the image of the Sacred Heart, it's like just the heart part. But whenever you see Jesus with his Sacred Heart, you don't see the image, the Sacred Heart. It's not like an X-ray. You know, it's outside of himself. And sometimes he even has it in his hand, like he's offering his heart to us. I think it's significant that the Sacred Heart of Jesus is always depicted as being outside, like his heart goes out to us. How amazing that we have a God whose heart goes out to us. Actually, I think we see that in all of our scripture readings today in the Mass. Our first reading from Exodus 19, of course, the people of Israel were freed from slavery in Egypt, brought through the Red Sea, and they're all camped there by Sinai, waiting like the next big step. And the Lord wants Moses to remind them. He said, I bore you on eagle wings and brought you here to myself. And that I want you to hear my voice and to step into this covenant relationship that I want to make with you. Why? So it says you can become my special possession, dearer to me than anything else, even though the whole world is mine. God has a heart for his people, and his heart goes out to them. We heard in our psalm that this Lord made us, and we belong to him, his we are, and that he is like we're part of his flock as a shepherd, that he takes care of us, he provides for us, he guides us, he nurtures us. Maybe he has to give us a little kick, when necessary. But it says his kindness and his faithfulness are everlasting, because we have a God whose heart goes out to us. Then our second reading, that powerful passage from Romans 5, we heard Paul say that God proves his love for us. How? That while we were still sinners, while we were helpless, couldn't be saved unstuck on our own, Jesus died for us. There's even the fact that he came, that our God has a heart that goes out to us so much that he literally came down to earth to take on our nature in order to redeem it, to reconcile it, as we heard, to reestablish that relationship that he has made us for. And St. Paul says, so that we can be saved by his life. Again, we can look back to the image of the Sacred Heart and see all these depictions of aspects of Jesus' saving passion and death on the cross that brings us life and salvation. He has a heart that's willing to be broken because it's a heart that goes out in love to us. This Jesus, who we heard then in our gospel, when he's looking out and considering all the people of Israel, recognizing that their own leaders had not been leading them, not been shepherding them rightly, not leading them into a relationship with God, so they were like troubled and abandoned. And as his heart was moved with pity for them. Pity here doesn't mean like, oh, those poor things. But the word pity means like he was deeply moved, like at the fiber of his being, his heart was touched for his people. Because we have a God whose heart has a heart that goes out to us. Though in our gospel too, there's this interesting little twist then, that he has a heart for his people, but yet then he calls other people to do the work. He could have done it all himself. Of course, Jesus did a lot of great things, suffice it to say. But he calls these 12 disciples, apostles, whose names that we hear. And he wants them to bring his heart to his people. Now we know, perhaps, that when Jesus chose the 12 apostles, he didn't pick the best and brightest in Israel, but he picked people who he still saw something in, whom he could form and transform and put his spirit into so they could indeed do his work. As we heard, to go out and cure sickness and to raise the dead and to cleanse lepers, to drive out demons. This world today, we know, is still in such need. A world that can be troubled and abandoned, people isolated. A world that can be marked out with violence and war, poverty, injustice, fear, anxiety, despair. But yet this is still a world, this is still a people that God has a heart for, that his heart literally goes out to. He's looking at us in this church to go and be that heart for those around us. To do the same, to cure sickness and to raise the dead and to cleanse lepers and to drive out demons. That can happen in miraculous ways still. It does. It can happen like professionally through like the medical profession, counselors, social workers. But also we can know his heart and live his heart more like broadly, I guess, because we can all experience the heart of God through the sacraments and the ways that he just pours his very life into us. And that we can have that heart for others through like the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. Because God has chosen each of us like he chose those 12 apostles by name and saw something in them that maybe they couldn't even see for themselves at the time. Through our baptism, through our confirmation, he has called us by name. He has called us to go out and to do his work. Here at the Mass, of course, we enter into, in a special way, the heart of Jesus poured out for us. And we have a Holy Communion in that self-giving love of Christ. So as we encounter Christ here in the Mass today, maybe even in a new way, we can recognize and be willing to accept and to receive the great heart of God, God's heart for each and every one of us. And then also, by the grace of God, to go out and to have his heart for those around us.